Have you ever wondered what would happen if the great love of your childhood disappeared without a trace, and years later, you found him on the streets, with nothing? For some people, this could just be a coincidence, but for Liam, it was a call of fate. Liam Foster was a successful man, owner of an international chain of luxury hotels. His life seemed perfect in the eyes of anyone, always impeccable, with tailored suits and a firm look of someone who controlled everything around him. However, not all the money in the world could fill the void he felt, an absence he didn't even know how to name. On that rainy morning, Liam was on his way to a meeting with investors. The city's traffic was intense, and the noise of the horns was muffled by the sound of heavy rain against the car window. Sitting in the back seat, he stared out the window without much interest, absorbed in thoughts of numbers and strategies. But then, something caught his attention. On the edge of a busy square, a woman was huddled under a piece of cardboard. Her dark, disheveled hair fell over her face, hiding her features as she held a piece of cardboard with faded letters. "I'm hungry. Please help." At first, it was just another sad scene in the city's daily life, but suddenly a shiver ran through Liam's body. Something about her felt familiar. A forgotten feeling emerged, and his heart raced. He leaned forward, trying to see better through the fogged window. His chest tightened when he recognized those eyes that were once full of life and dreams. "Stop the car. Now!" he ordered the driver. The driver, confused, hesitated. "Mr. Foster, we're late for the meeting." "I told you to stop the car," Liam insisted, already opening the door before the vehicle had even come to a complete stop. The cold rain hit him hard, soaking his expensive suit. But none of that mattered. He needed to be sure. He needed to know if that woman was really who he thought. His heart pounded as he approached and whispered a name he hadn't uttered in years. "Helena?" The woman looked up, her eyes wide. A clash of emotions crossed his gaze. Fear, shame, and something deeper, something he still couldn't decipher. Helena looked away, pulling the piece of cardboard closer to her body, as if trying to hide. Her skin was pale, her hands trembled, and her chapped lips betrayed the days without adequate food. But for Liam, time had not erased the essence of the woman he once knew. "Helena, it's me, Liam. What happened to you?" His voice came out softer than he expected. She lowered her head, embarrassed. "Don't recognize me, please," he murmured, his voice barely audible, but it was too late. Liam had already seen the truth. The woman before him was not just a ghost from the past. He was someone who once dreamed big and somehow had his life shattered. Moved by an uncontrollable impulse, he took off his coat and placed it on her shoulders. The people around watched the scene, some with curious looks, others indifferent, but Liam didn't care. He couldn't leave her there. "You come with me," he said firmly. Helena shook her head. "I can't, Liam. I'm no longer that girl you knew. My place is here." Liam took a deep breath. It wouldn't be easy to convince her, but he wouldn't give up so easily. "I don't know what happened to you, but I know it can't end like this. I'll help you, Helena, whether you want it or not." Helena hesitated. Her dark eyes scanned Liam, trying to understand why he still cared. The world had shown her its cruel face so many times that trusting again seemed impossible. But there in the cold rain, something in her trembled. It wasn't just the weight of the warm coat on his shoulders, but the idea that someone still cared. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as lonely as she thought. Love can be an enigma. For some, it's a choice. For others, a force that crosses time and space. For Liam and Helena, fate seemed to trace unexpected paths, bringing them together again after so many years. Liam helped Helena to her feet, but he noticed her hesitation. He knew that insisting too much could drive her away, but he also understood that he couldn't just walk away. The past they shared was real, as were the feelings that once brought them together. As they walked down the wet street together, Helena felt the weight of Liam's gaze on her. He didn't ask anything, just followed her in silence, respecting her space. But deep down, she knew that the time to face the truth was near. "Have you never wondered what happened to me?" Helena asked, her voice almost dissolving in the rain. Liam looked at her seriously. "Every day. And now that I'm here, I'm not going to let you disappear anymore." Helena stopped in the middle of the sidewalk. The cold wind made her body shiver, but it wasn't the cold that bothered her. It was the fear of allowing oneself to believe that someone could truly care. "I don't know if I can, Liam. I don't know if there's still something in me that's worth redeeming." He held her hands, firm but gentle. "You've always been worth it. You just need to remember that." Liam's words broke something inside her. For so long, Helena saw herself as a burden to the world, But there, in front of someone who still saw value in her, she felt that maybe there was a chance to start over. Fate had given them a new opportunity. Now it was up to them to decide what to do with it. What defined love was not just the past they shared, but the courage to face the future together. Helena took a deep breath and nodded. Maybe she could believe it, just this once. In the following days, Helena faced a mix of emotions. Being away from the streets under a safe roof and surrounded by comfort felt surreal. The hotel where Liam hosted her was sophisticated, with elegant furnishings and an impressive view of the city. But to her it all seemed strange. For so long he had become accustomed to invisibility, cold and fear. Now she felt out of place, as if she were living a reality that did not belong to her. She spent long minutes watching the city through her huge bedroom window. Outside, the lights shone brightly, contrasting with the darkness that had dominated her life for so long. The smell of clean sheets, the soft touch of new clothes, everything seemed distant to her, as if it were not something destined for her. "You're safe here, Helena," Liam said, noticing his unease. "Safety doesn't mean belonging, Liam," she replied with a sigh. "I feel displaced, as if I were occupying a space that is not mine." Liam walked over and sat down next to her, offering her an understanding look. "You've been living on the edge for so long that you've forgotten what it's like to have a place to call home," he said. "But that doesn't mean I can't find one." The feeling of not having a place was what tormented her the most. For years he wandered aimlessly, without ties, without a reason to continue. Now, next to someone who cared, a new question arose. Did she deserve all that? Could she, after all that she has been through, really start over? Family is not just blood. It's the one who chooses to stay, even when everything seems to fall apart, Liam said, taking his hands. "You have value, Helena, and there will always be a place by my side." Those words touched something inside her. Perhaps for the first time in years, she could believe that she belonged somewhere. But at the same time, fear still consumed her. What if all that was temporary? What if in the end she ended up alone again? That night, Helena couldn't sleep. Memories of the past haunted her, and the uncertainty of the future made her uneasy. She needed to find answers, but first of all, she needed to find herself. True belonging was not just in a safe place or in comforting words, but in her ability to accept that there was still room for her in the world. The days passed, and despite being physically away from the streets, Helena felt that a part of her was still stuck in the past. She might have a comfortable room, new clothes, and hot food at her disposal, but inside her, the battle continued. The life she had led before seemed to haunt her, as if at any moment she could be dragged back into the darkness she had tried so hard to leave behind. Liam could see her unease. He noticed how she avoided interacting with the hotel staff, how she rarely left the room, and how her eyes were always far away, as if she was expecting it all to be just a dream about to end. "What binds you to the past, Helena?" he asked one night, sitting next to her on the hotel balcony. She took a deep breath before answering. "Everything. Every wrong choice. Every night in the open. Every promise they made to me and didn't keep. I've gotten used to not expecting anything from life, Liam. Now having this chance to start over seems scary." Liam nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "I can't change what happened to you, but I can assure you that you're no longer alone. The past doesn't have to define who you are now." Helena wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at her. What if she could never adapt? What if it was only a matter of time before everything collapsed again? She knew that in order to move forward, she had to face the ghosts that were stalking her. The next morning, he made a decision. He left the hotel and returned to the neighborhood where he spent his last years. The streets were the same, but now they seemed even colder and more impersonal. Some homeless people recognized her and nodded. Others did not even notice his presence. She felt a lump in her throat when she realized how much that environment still affected her. When Liam found her there, his heart sank. He understood that Helena needed this confrontation, but he feared that she would let herself be carried away by guilt. "What did you find here?" he asked, approaching. "A piece of who I was," she replied, her eyes tearing up. "But it's not where I want to be anymore." Liam smiled, relieved. "Then let's go where you want to be." For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that the past was only a part of her story, not her final destination. The following days marked the beginning of a new cycle for Helena. With Liam's help, she began to rebuild her life in a concrete way. It wasn't just about clean clothes or a roof over his head, but about finding real purpose. Gradually, she became involved in social projects, helping other people who faced the same difficulties that were once her reality. Liam, for his part, never doubted her. He saw her evolve, gain confidence, and above all, accept that she deserved a better future. The fears still existed, but now she knew she didn't have to face them alone. One afternoon, while walking through a park, Helena stopped for a moment, watching the children playing and the people going about their routines. For so long, she felt like a spectator of her own existence. But in that moment she realized that she was finally present, being part of the world again. "What are you thinking?" Liam asked, smiling beside him. Helena looked at him sincerely. "That for the first time in a long time I know where I'm going. The past could not be erased, but the future was still in his hands. Now, it was she who decided the next step. Just as Helena found a new path, we all have the power to transform our lives." If you like inspiring stories like this, subscribe to the channel to follow more stories that touch the heart and make you reflect. Comment if you liked it, or leave a suggestion of what we can improve.